Hi. I want to know what I'm resisting and why I'm afraid to feel this power.
Well, you're not afraid of the power. You see, when you feel it, it feels wonderful. You're not afraid of empowerment. Fear is pinching it off. But it's interesting when you put it in a sentence like that. Why am I afraid of this power? Because I'm not in vibrational alignment with the power. I've got it pinched off. That's why. So now what's the follow-up question? Why do I do that? Why do you do that?
I don't know.
So can you feel that it is a matter of focusing in opposition to it? So give us an example, if you can, and you can, of some kind of thought that you are thinking when you feel afraid. What's the thought like?
It feels like I can't have what I want.
Yeah.
Because it's scary.
Well, it's not scary to have what you want. The scariness is in not allowing what you want. There's a flawed premise there. And we see why you would come to that. A lot of people make that misunderstanding. You say, I'm feeling this fear because I'm afraid to have what I'm asking for. That's not why you have the feeling of fear. Fear is because you're focused upon the absence of what you're asking for. But we see how you would come around to that conclusion. But doesn't this make sense to you? So when we say, so what kinds of thoughts are you thinking when you feel the fear? I'm thinking that I can't have what I want. You're not thinking about having it. Now, it may be that you can't jump from your practice thought of not having it into a immediate thought of having it. You have to warm yourself up to it. But the nice thing is, once you've had a discussion like the one that we've had today, and then you feel some negative emotion, you're more likely to stop and comprehend what that negative emotion guidance is actually saying. And if you will pay attention, every time, no exception, you will realize you have been focused, and not just a little, pretty strong and steady on the absence of what you want. Or something has stirred up your awareness of what you do want, and you're just maintaining your habitual vibration about it. So if, and it is, if that feeling of fear simply means you're vibrationally off from what you want, then what's the logical conclusion about what to do about it? If you're thinking about the absence of what you want and that's what's producing the fear, what's the obvious thing that you might do to make the fear go away or to allow the fear to dissipate?
Don't focus on it.
Don't focus on it. But what if it's something you really want and you feel like you can't stop thinking about it? What might you do? What do you do? Well, you hold the thought, I want to think about this without fear. I want to see this the way Source sees it. I want to feel my way into complete alignment with it. And that's where the exercise that we've been offering about going general comes in.
Okay.
So you want to talk about the specifics of what you're feeling fear around?
Yeah, love.
So give us an example, if you can, and you can, of a feeling when you're having a thought or an awareness or an observation and fear comes over you.
When I'm thinking about finding a partner.
All right, but you're not thinking about finding a partner when fear comes. You're thinking about not having found one and not ever finding one.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, isn't that good to know? It's really different. It's really different. It's really different because one is practicing a grid that will allow a partner and the other is practicing a grid that won't allow. And by the time you've got some pretty obvious fear going on, it means you've practiced a pretty steady grid. And you kind of want to stop doing that. Our friend today, we appreciated so much his willingness to play with us because we really got all over that about practicing the grid. So what kinds of things, just for fun, do you sometimes find yourself saying that are practicing the grid that is disallowing the partner? What are the things that just come natural to you about a partner?
I can't have that.
I can't have that.
Yeah.
I don't have that.
Yeah. If I see other people and they have what I want, I think, I can't have that, or I don't have that.
And is the reason that your conclusion is that you can't have it because you don't have it?
Yes.
Well, that's true. That's an accurate answer. But that's like saying, I'm going on a journey, and because I'm not there, I can't get there.
Yeah.
Esther and Barbara and Mark and Richard, they get on the airplane and they say, we're not there. Why bother? We're not there. We'd like to go to Australia. It's far, 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 far away, but there's no point in trying to get there because we're not there. Hello, Leon? We can't come. Why not? Because we aren't there.
Yeah.
So that's dumb.
Yeah, sure is.
Got any good reasons?
I guess it's a sense of not really being able to feel, oh yeah, I think I deserve that.
So you think you don't deserve it because you don't have it?
Well, I guess because I've never had it, then maybe that's because I don't
But
deserve
see, that's the interesting thing. So I've been practicing this grid, which is giving me exactly how I feel. That's worth something. You see, if you will pay attention to that, I'm getting what I'm offering. So your grid is filling in with how you feel. Doesn't that make you want to change how you feel so that it will fill in with other things? Have we appealed to your sense of universal law logic at all?
Sure. I think that's where the fear comes in, and it stops it, and then I start closing.
But don't use fear against yourself in that way. That's bogus.
Okay.
You think fear comes in, why?
Because I'm not ready, or I'm not able to hear something, or...
Because I'm not vibrationally in alignment with my desire, period.
Okay.
No other reason. Why do I feel this yucky way? Because Source sees it differently, and I'm stubbornly holding to an old, erroneous nowness that has nothing to do with where I'm going. Really?
Yeah.
Really? We really want you to put this in terms of any journey. Well, here I am. Where do you want to go? Nowhere. Why? Because I'm not anywhere else. I'm just here. How do you like it there? Not so much. Would you like to go somewhere else? No, it makes me afraid. Afraid of what? Of not getting there. Really? So what you've got going on is just a habit of perceiving, and because you have not understood that your grid is always filling in. You see, it's always filling in and it's always changing. It's just changing to more of the same.
Yeah.
Oh, isn't that worth thinking about? So here's where I stand, and this is what I'm observing, and I'm observing that I don't have a mate. And I'd like one, but I'm observing that I don't have one. And so my grid is about not having one, not having one, not having one. So the law of attraction is responding to the grid that I'm offering. And so every day it's new. Not having it again, 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 not having it again. This is going to take a while. Not having it again, not having it again, not having it again.
Sounds like
not having it again, not having it again, not having it again. Do you know in the moment that you stop noticing that you're not having it again, something could change? So how is it that you all get so hung up on offering your vibration mostly by what you're observing? That's what makes you think that life is happening to you rather than that you are calling it to you. So we think you know differently now, don't you?
I do, yes.
You really do. And so if your grid is filling in based upon what you've got going on right now, what could you do now that could change that?
I could believe or feel myself as the creator of my reality.
That's the easy answer, isn't it? But not so easy to do. So what's a belief anyway? A belief's just a thought you keep thinking. So if you've been thinking a different thought, is it logical for us to demand an entirely different thought right here and right now? It isn't logical, is it? That you could all of a sudden just conjure a whole different way of looking at it. But you do know that you got to do something different than what you've been doing, because what you've been doing has kept you in a holding pattern different from what you want. So you must find some way of feeling different about that. Now tell us again some of the things you do that keep you feeling that way. You see someone else and you say, oh, they have something that I don't have. Could you soften that by saying, I'll bet they weren't born together. They don't look like twins.
Okay.
I bet they didn't come in holding hands. I bet they didn't meet in the incubator.
Okay.
They met somewhere along their physical trail. They were not always together. There was a time when both of them were standing in anticipation of meeting each other, just like I'm standing in anticipation. So I'm right on schedule the way I see it. Well, that might be a little bit of a stretch from where you've been feeling, but isn't that logical? If they can do it, I can do it. Is that logical? Is that logical? How does that fly with you? Or are they worthy while you're not?
I think that's where I've been going.
So you think that's your tripping point? I must not be worthy of something more than I have because all I've got's what I've got. When we put it that way, isn't that silly? So how can you alter your own perception? What might you do that's different? What might you say about that?
I might say I can have it just like anyone else.
Yeah, but you don't believe that, so what else might you say? What might you say that you do believe?
Okay.
I've had improvement on many fronts in my life experience.
Yeah.
There are many things that I wanted that I didn't have that eventually came about.
Yeah, you're right.
I've not been void of well-being. In fact, there's a lot of well-being in my life.
Yeah.
And maybe because this is something that I want so much, and I've been focusing on it so much, not realizing that I was focusing on the absence of it. Yeah. So I'm going to distract myself and not think about it so much. And when I do think about it, I'm going to become as general as I can be.
Okay.
So what do you think is the most general stance that anyone could take on anything that they want? In other words, what kinds of things have you been looking for in a relationship? What do you want? Just give us a sort of short list.
Oh, someone available. Heterosexual.
So it's just the mere test.
I'm being general.
Available.
I want someone who loves
breathing,
me. Yeah, someone who's interested in loving me.
So through life experience, before you were identifying the specifics of a partner that you wanted to partner up with, do you think that you were collecting any data prior to your awareness that you wanted to live happily ever after with someone? It's a trick question, so be careful.
Ooh. Can you repeat that? Sorry.
The point that we're wanting to make is that long before you put on your list, I want a relationship, you were putting the components of a really good relationship in your vortex. When someone was rude to you, you want people to be nice. When you feel unattended to, you want someone who pays attention. When somebody offers the most boring conversation that just goes on and on and on and on and on and on, getting carried away, about on and on and on about things you're not interested in, you want someone who has some interest. When you're with someone who is not attentive to their appearance, you want someone who is. When you're with someone who makes a mess everywhere they are, you want someone who's tidier. In other words, you were making all of those decisions, a lot of what you want in a relationship. In fact, almost all that you care about in a relationship, in fact, everything that you want in a relationship was in your vortex before you came to the conclusion that you want something. Now stay with us because we're going to tie something in. Abraham, you mean, so I've been putting pieces of this relationship in my whole life, and even before you came into this body, pieces into this vortex of what a meaningful relationship feels like. In the vortex, spinning, cooperative components being gathered. And then an idea flows to you about something that you really want. And you think the idea is being born in that moment. It was already in the vortex. You are realizing it when it flows to you. And you think, oh, I just developed a desire. I just realized how much I really, 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 really want something. Well, you've been wanting it for a long time. You're just at the place now where your grid is beginning to fill in with the idea of it. Did you hear that? Can you feel the power of that? Now what happened? The grid filled in. In other words, you were just bipping along. You weren't beating the drum of not having something that you want. You weren't even thinking about it. You were tuned in, tapped in, turned on without even really doing it on purpose. So you were up to speed with the contents of your vortex, and the idea of a relationship just wafted into your experience and settled into your beingness. And in almost the moment that that happened, you turned immediately and looked at the absence of it, and you felt fear. Ooh, that's good.